All right, guys, today I'm gonna build an assemblage, which is like a 3D collage out of cardboard and different pieces of wood. I'm gonna start with my largest piece of cardboard and I'm just gonna start to lay things out. I want you to begin by dividing your cardboard, with either a vertical line, a horizontal line, or even a diagonal line. Breaking your paper into a more manageable space makes it a little bit easier to work with. Now you can see my piece of cardboard is too long, so all I'm gonna do is snip off the end there and snip off the end here. All right, and I think I'm going to do it off center, not totally center. And then I'm just gonna try to play around and put things on and see what I like. When you're using cardboard, if you have a side that has writing on it, use the side without the writing to aim up. It makes it easier for when we paint it. And I'm just kind of playing. I'm not really attached to anything I'm putting down. I'm looking at my composition. This one leaves the frame that I made, but I actually like the way that comes off the side, so I think I'm gonna leave it. I can layer more than one piece. I can make pieces that pop off more, so that piece comes off a bit more. I think I'm gonna use this cylinder here. I have this cool kind of beehive looking thing, but I don't know if I'll have space for it. I'm just kind of playing and moving until I'm happy with what I have. And I'm gonna aim that down. You can see that it has some lettering on this side and I don't want that. So I'm paying attention to how I'm laying things out. If this has a piece of tape on it, I don't want the tape to aim up. Something cool you can do with cardboard is if you kind of rip it in half, there's this corrugated texture inside that has kind of like lines on it. And you can see I'm revealing it as I do this here. So you can reveal a different texture with your cardboard if you like. So I'm moving things around until I'm happy with the way it looks, and then I'm going to add glue. And actually, I kind of like how that's halfway ripped off and half on there. I like how that looks. I'm gonna place that right there. Now I'm pretty happy with the look of my assemblage, so it's time to start gluing. I'm going to lift off one piece at a time. I don't wanna clear the whole assemblage off because I might not remember what the composition is that I had and liked, and sometimes it's hard to get it back. I'm applying a fair amount of glue. You don't need big globs, but you definitely need enough so that it's gonna stick. And I'm applying pressure to ensure that it does stick. I'm gonna do that to each of my pieces, making sure they're stuck on really well. We're going to be painting these in whatever color we choose. The first step is going to be that we will prime them or paint them completely white, and then we'll go back in with that color of our choice. I'm gonna fast forward here so you can see how I keep going. When you're at this point in the lesson, you're gonna let your piece dry. Then when you come back the next time, we're going to paint your entire piece with white paint. That is so when we put on the color of our choice, it'll show up. Now that can get a little bit tricky on some areas that are more textured, like my beehive here, where I really need to get my brush in there and carefully, because I don't want to ruin that little beehive look. It's not actually a beehive, I just think it looks like one. Where I want to get the white paint without globbing, but I also don't want to rip. So it can be a little tricky, so take your time and do it nicely. But your goal is just to cover every piece of cardboard or wood with a layer of white paint. All right, guys, now I have my piece covered in paint, the white paint first. Now I'm gonna add color. The paint I'm using today will stain clothes. So make sure that you keep this off your clothes. If you have long sleeves on, roll up your sleeves. And your goal is going to be to cover your entire piece with that color of paint. Now that can be a little bit tricky, especially on the surfaces that are a little more textured. Some of them I'm gonna have to go over maybe 2 times before they're covered. But in the end, what's really cool is the shadows, because this is an assemblage, not a collage, will make your paint look like it actually has different values, light or dark, of whatever color you choose. I chose this orange here. And I'm just working carefully, making sure I get every part of my work a nice layer of this paint. We're using a paint called acrylic paint because it tends to go on more thickly and it stays on better, which is why it stains. It stays on your clothes better, but it also stays on your art a little bit better and a little bit darker. So make sure that you're very careful. It will come off hands. Try not to get it on the table because it's kind of tricky to get off the table. But if you do accidentally, it's not the end of the world. So I'm just going to keep working like this until my piece is totally covered with this orange paint. All right, guys, now you can see I have a finished piece of art. I painted it all the same color, but I'm getting a lot of different values of that color. You can see kind of a dark orangish brown in this area. That's just because there's a shadow there. There's a little bit of a light orange here, and that's because of a highlight. So that's pretty cool that you can use one color and get all these different values. I focused on my composition where I divided my piece. In this case with a horizontal line, maybe you used a different type of line. But I'm super happy with this and I cannot wait to display it at my house.